I think an interesting topic about language learning is whether we should use music to learn languages. I think for some people it works really well, but I think there are some drawbacks that people should discuss. It's not quite so binary that either it's the best thing ever or it's the worst thing ever. So let's talk a little bit about that today. So what's the good things about learning a language through music? Well, one, it's more fun to learn a song passively, and by singing along, you just enjoy yourself more. Would you rather read a dialogue or would you rather listen to a song? I think most people want to listen to a song. There's also the fact that you internalize song lyrics much easier than vocab lists. If you can sing along, you can probably remember them better. We learn the alphabet song in kindergarten, right? That's because of the same psychological phenomenon. Songs are easier to remember than just rote memorization lists. Another good thing about learning languages through music is that it prompts you to look at grammar structures more in detail. It's not teaching you, which I think has some drawbacks. It instead makes you look something up because you think, oh, why did you say that? I don't know that structure. Whereas with teaching, it's kind of passive and you don't really understand what's important and what's not important. They just tell you what you should learn. With a song, you realize, oh, this part I don't understand. So that prompts you to look it up for something that you may have gotten some details on, but it maybe is very critical in this song lyric, right? Another fun thing is that it gives you a kind of aura around a language that maybe helps you distinguish it better from other languages. I've talked about not confusing languages before, and I think music is actually a pretty big part of that. For example, when I am learning some Japanese, I absolutely have to listen to some Kyari Pamyu Pamyu because I'm like, this is the Japanese feeling. This is the aura of Japan. And for that reason, it's kind of like, what is that called? It's, so you kind of get some classic conditioning going on, and every time you hear this song, you're like, grammar, Japanese vocab. So I think that's a good thing when you're learning a language. Maybe other people do color coding for languages and maybe they only use a certain color notebook or they use a certain style of note-taking for a language. I think music is also part of that because you can listen passively. You can have it on in the background and create a aura that is helpful for learning. Another good thing is that you can see how the singer plays with their words. Where are they putting emphasis? What words are they choosing? A big drawback of textbooks is that they don't really tell you much about the nuance, but if you hear some words in a song back to back, you kind of get some nuance. For example, maybe someone in a song could say, oh, I can't take it anymore, or I can't stand it. And then you see those next to each other, you kind of understand the nuance difference when that happens. And then what are some bad things about learning a language through music? Well, some of those poetic structures might be awkward in daily speech, and you just got used to them, which is not what you want. You want to get used to good structures. But in every language, the poetic language is a little different from the daily spoken language, so you might go in a direction that isn't quite natural just because you heard it 100 times. There's also another problem that you're going to see more poetic words as opposed to more daily words. So what are you going to see in a song a lot? You're going to see the word heart, heartbreaking, falling in love with you, the deepest darkness. These words aren't really that important to learn, at least in daily speech. They don't really introduce you to some really important vocab words like taking a break, going to work, coming back from work, or commuting, going to the store, run by the store. Some really daily words you're not going to see in a song. You're going to see more poetic language. The worst situation of this is when songs use words that could actually be offensive in the wrong contexts, especially, for example, like pronouns. In some languages, you're going to see they're using some special pronouns for I, for you, for he, she, but maybe in real life, if you actually said that to someone's face, they'd be like, so here is one way I translated a song. This is a Turkish song called Acemi Balık by İrem Derici. So basically I wrote all of the lyrics here, and then I highlighted the words I didn't know. Kapımı çalacak çizgi hayat. And then I went through all of them, checked the dictionary for all of them. This is also a good moment to see how words affect each other. For example, words that really couldn't be separated, like couscous. I couldn't separate that, those must go together. Also, because this is all for me, I was using maybe simpler words in other languages that could be explained more easily, right? Literally, this is the same as watashi no mae ni in Japanese, but if I used English, it would have been my front, which would sound weird, but in Japanese, I instantly know what that means. Fortunately, this one didn't have a lot of very difficult grammar structures in here. So you'll see a lot of times I highlighted the root, but I didn't highlight the inflection. But for another song, Yanku by Simge, for example, this structure was a grammar thing I needed to know. Veriansen et mek, which means to yokkada or to attack verbally, and you need to use the dative here. So that explains why this one's kadere, and I just instantly knew that. So you'll see a lot of very good structures here. So I use this method quite a lot when I want to introduce myself to more words and familiarize myself with more common words. So what are my recommendations for you if you want to do this? Well, I really recommend doing what I did. Try to parse the words very carefully. Since you're looking at song lyrics, treat it like it was literature or poetry. Really focus on every word. Why did they choose that one? Why did they do that order? Why did they put the object there? They don't normally do that in daily speech. Underline the words you don't know and really take the time to look them up. In other contexts, you shouldn't check the dictionary every 5 seconds. In this context, I think you should. This is the moment to really think about the language very deeply. Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? What's up with that order? Basically, this is your moment to go into a lot of detail. When you're having a conversation, maybe you miss a couple words here and there, there's some mistakes, but that doesn't matter because you're speaking. In this context, when you're looking at lyrics, look at every single word and try to understand them from context. And if you can't understand it from the context, look it up, Google it. Ask your native friend, ask your language tutor. Also, it's very important to know if you see a really strange structure, find out if that's a poetic kind of structure that they don't use every day, or whether this is really important and you shouldn't forget this. You're probably going to encounter both. Something that's really common and really helpful, or something that is so rare that some people think it sounds very ancient. You know, off the top of my head, in a lot of English songs, you see a lot of phrases that I never use outside of songs. That's like, baby, mirror, mirror on the wall, from head to toe. Do we use these every day? Absolutely not. So I don't think a learner of English should go crazy trying to memorize these and kind of punish themselves for not remembering them perfectly. It is not that important, honey. No. So that's basically it. I think music is a double-edged sword. It could be really helpful, or it could lead you down a wrong path. So you got to be really cognizant of this when you're learning a language. I think it's a great, fun way to learn languages. It reinforces some important vocab. There are some points about learning with songs that isn't quite perfect. So just be aware of it, use it carefully, and have fun. You can do whatever you want, you can enjoy yourself, and still learn at the same time. What other subject is like that? Can you learn math and have fun at the same time? Can you learn physics and have fun at the same time? I don't think so. So learning languages is something special. You can do it with music, video games, TV, movies, whatever you want. So that's that on that. Tell me what you think in the comments below. You should follow me on my socials. On Instagram, actually, I do this thing. Every few days, I try to translate one song from one language I know to another, trying to avoid English and trying to kind of disconnect my brain from the foreign language to English filter. So if it's a Japanese song, I'll translate it to, I don't know, Turkish, or if it's a French song, I'll translate it to Bulgarian, just to kind of break that thinking where I try to think of every word in terms of the English word. And I think it's pretty fun, and you guys can do the same if you like. So thank you for watching today. I'll see you again for another new video very soon, okay? Bye-bye. I wanna be me.